a muddy mix. Now, whether it's low-end boominess, improper filtering, maybe excessive amounts of reverb or effects, or maybe you're trying to add some top-end sheen, but you're also adding that high-end harshness with it. If you're struggling with any of these, chances are you're dealing with a muddy mix. So in this video, I'm going to show you 3 ways to fix a muddy mix. I'm going to take the mix from dull and muddy sounding and turn it into something cleaner and more polished.
With you buried in my mind, we keep playing sick and high.
All the while maintaining the knock and the character of all the sounds. This is the Eventide DeBoom and Sheen Machine, 2 extensions off of the groundbreaking SplitEQ, where underneath the hood you have Eventide's structural split technology, splitting your sound into 2 separate streams, transient and tonal, and allows you to independently manipulate them or combine them to produce new sounds. So the same split capabilities reconfigured into 2 plugins, giving you complex surgical results with the turn of a single control.
I need to know, where do you want me to go? You say you love it out loud. Now show me that you feel it.
Basically, it takes tasks that are a little time consuming to do in the mix and simplifies them into a single dial. We're going to dive a little deeper into this, along with some simple tricks to help you fix the mud in your mix and add clarity without the harshness. One of the very first things to check if your mix is too muddy before you even reach for an EQ or a plugin is to check your levels. I'm just going to play the drums back real quick, starting with the foundation, and let's see where we're at level-wise. You see, without any plugins even on, drums are way too loud, already peaking at +1 dB. And if the ideal peak for mastering is -6 dB, then we need to start way lower, especially to leave room for everything else in the mix. So before we even open an EQ or a plugin, let's just try to get the foundation of the drums to sit somewhere around -10, -12. I'll bring down the loudest elements, the kick, the snare, and 808. I'll reset the meter, check where I'm at level-wise, and go back and make my adjustments on the channel. All right, so we're sitting between -12 and -10. We've got the headroom, but we're getting a little bit of clash and a little muddy buildup with that 808 boom and that kick. So the very first thing I'm gonna do to help with that clashing is I'm gonna sidechain the 808 to the drums. And the stock compressor will work fine for this. Now all you gotta do is turn the sidechain on, assign it to the kick or drums, give it a fast attack, a fast release. We'll play it back and bring the threshold down. And then I'll adjust the release, just so that it breathes right along with the tail end of the kick. All right, and that'll take care of any transient clashes happening on the onset of the kick in 808. And the next thing I'll do to tame all that boominess is I'm gonna insert DeBoom and just dial it up. It takes that little bit of edge off. Simple as that. Another way to go about this is to just insert DeBoom on your drums group, because underneath the hood of it, you have the transient and tonal split happening from SplitEQ, which is filtering off only the low tonal information and not the transient information. So you can see it allows you to remove the boominess and muddiness, but you can hear it's maintaining all that knock and thud on the drums in 808. See, if we were to roll this off with a typical EQ, we're losing too much. See, everything is gone and we're losing all that body. So we're doing something a little different here. And it works the same way the transient and tonal split happens behind the scenes of the SplitEQ. Let's take a look at that on another instance of muddiness in a mix is when adding the bass to the low end. So I'm gonna use DeBoom on it to make it sit better with the kick in 808. All right, that's a bit much with it, but for example, you can see its ability to catch the tonal aspect of the lows while keeping the transients intact. And having that control at your fingertips just makes things a whole lot faster and simpler. sometimes adding a little top end can go a long way in terms of cleaning up the mud in your mix. But we want to increase the brightness and not the harshness. We want to make it airy, but not sibilant. So instead of juggling and struggling with a typical EQ, try reaching for the split EQ or use it in conjunction with this. So on a vocal, what I like to do first is get a little surgical by removing any low-end noise, any rumble, but I'll leave the tonal information on these bands alone. I'll adjust that in a second. Let me play back for you what I did.
I've been waiting for so long. Let me find out, where do I belong? Time is running, it might be wrong, need a savior, but I get lost.
But then I'll go and fine-tune and attenuate those harsh tonal areas of the vocal, that honk and those nasally tones in the upper mid-range. And once I have the lows and mids under control or anything bothering me cleaned up, I'll go and add the Sheen Machine just to simplify the process of enhancing the top end of the vocal against other instruments.
I've been waiting for so long. Let me find out, where do I belong? Time is running, it might be wrong, need a savior, but I get lost. In the middle of the night, when I do close my eyes, tears falling down, I lose the lights on.
Same transient and tonal split from the SplitEQ and DeBoom going on under the hood, except this plugin enhances the tonality of the top end along with a slight transient boost depending on how far you dial it up. Now, considering the transient and tonal elements of a sound, being able to separate and boost or attenuate these elements individually and having that control over all that complexity is going to give you a much, much cleaner result. Now, in mixing in general, if you're listening to a sound in the mix and it sounds okay to you, just start turning knobs and pulling out frequencies if you don't have to. If it sounds good, leave it alone. But if you hear something, do something about it, all right? So let's start by adding a few more tracks from the session. And using just DeBoom and Sheen Machine, we're going to see if we can polish things up and clean things up. Starting with these guitars. Now we can do a few things here to clean this up. We can use just a touch of DeBoom just to create more space for the tonality in the low end. But we're not completely destroying all the information of it. We still got the transient information intact. And then we can just add Sheen Machine after it and introduce more of the sizzle, just like that. All right, let's see how they're cutting through now against the drums. We've also got some synth breathing in the mix. Let's hear it now with the drums and bass in the low end. Let's see what we can do to create more space and help it shine better in the mix. All right, let's add a little more sizzle to it. Let's open all the channels and hear it with everything else. I'm hearing the kalimpas in there. Let's see if we can add more sparkle to them. We'll bring the gain down a little. All right, so now I'm going to try to relieve some of that percussive tonality, but without getting too thin. We took care of the boom, but let's bring the gain up a little bit, just so they heard with the drums. We got that sheen, that low end is nice and clean. Let's hear the before and after. Here's another great way to brighten up and add excitement to your mix without making a mess. I showed you how to treat vocals, but what about vocal effects? The typical way I add effects is I'll create a send, usually one for the reverb and a separate for the delay. Now on my reverb aux, I've got my reverb plugin. I've got the SP 2016 here. You can see it's got a built-in EQ. And on a reverb, I will completely remove all that low-end information. We just want to add depth and make the vocals a little wet without any rumble. So now I'll dial it up on the channel. All right, so you can see I've got Sheen Machine after my reverb, and now we're going to use it to add a little excitement at the right moment in the mix on the vocals, the chorus. Now, these little extension plugins are great because when you want to fix something or you want to improve something in the mix, the result from brain to done is a whole lot quicker. Take a listen to the open feeling that you get as I dial it up.
In the middle
add that sparkle in the chorus without adding mud or making a mess. So those are 3 ways to fix a muddy mix. I showed you the surgical way and the simple way. Either way, I hope you had fun, and I hope this helped you out. And if you're struggling with a muddy mix, start from the ground up. Start from the foundation, the drums, the bass, the low end. Work your way up. Keep your eyes on your levels. Instead of compromising your sounds or struggling with a typical EQ, try the transient and tonal split approach with SplitEQ, DeBoom and Sheen Machine. You'll find that you have a lot more control and speed in terms of removing the mud and keeping the thud in that mix. If you want to learn more about SplitEQ, DeBoom, or Sheen Machine, make sure you check the link in the description. Eventide even has the offer split up for you. And if you want just SplitEQ, you can do that too. Eventide is cool like that. Just check the links in the description below to get involved. Now, if you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Until next time, thank you for watching.